Hey, what's going on? It's Jens Dono here. Coming at you on a very unfortunate Monday. Pittsburgh Steelers ended up losing to the Cleveland Browns in the wild card, 48-37. I really don't know what to say. I don't know if words can truly describe how I think all of us are really feeling right now. Get into the game here. Listen, we really, at the end of the day, it's so funny because, like, I'm up here in my loft, my little man cave space, right? And so I've got my TV, and I figured last week I watched it downstairs in the main living room, and we were close, but we lost. And I'm like, you know what? If I watch the game up here in the man cave, maybe things will be a little bit different. I'm in my Steelers man cave. That's gotta be good luck. You know, I tried to do things. You know, I felt like that my normal routine just wasn't working the last few weeks. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do things a little bit different. And so I was watching the game. I was streaming the game from my Fire Stick while my fiance was downstairs watching the game on cable. And there's a little bit of a delay on my TV up here than there was on the TV downstairs on cable. And, you know, kickoff. And all of a sudden, first thing I hear is my fiance downstairs just say, "What just happened?" And I peeped over this little window right here, this little viewing, this hatch, or this little ledge, right? This port. Downstairs, looking at the TV, and I see Marquise Pouncey sail the ball over a 6'5" quarterback. All the way. He sailed the ball over his head so far it went to the end zone. Right then and there, I turned the TV up here and went downstairs, and I just looked at the TV in disbelief. I couldn't believe what just happened. And I think at that moment, in my eyes, and I think in a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers fans, the game was over. At the end of the day, listen, this game is about one team has to take what the other team gives them. And the Cleveland Browns last night, yes, you heard me right. The Cleveland Browns last night took everything that Pittsburgh gave them. Everything. Pittsburgh handed them 28 points. You know, and the thing that sucks and that I think was so surprising to a lot of Steelers fans, you know, it wasn't necessarily that Ben was turning the ball over and throwing interceptions. I think we all kind of, I wouldn't say expected at this point, but I feel like when Ben throws the ball over, it's just like, well, there it goes again, right? And I mean to talk shit necessarily about Ben Roethlisberger, because he's been such a highlight to this franchise. He has been such a positive light, such a positive, aspect of this team for so long. And he's done so many great things for this team and this organization, as well as the city of Pittsburgh. But we all know that he does have a habit of throwing interceptions, and bad interceptions at that. What I think was the most surprising is that even though we were missing some players, our defense has been strong all year long. Even in some of the losses, even sometimes when we don't play that good, our defense was always able to make adjustments and make a big play, get a turnover. And I think that the most shocking thing to me, you know, they kept talking about how our offensive line is soft and they're not getting pushed. The most shocking thing to me is the fact that our defense was so unwilling to smack motherfuckers in the mouth. I mean, how does a defense who it leads the league in sacks and quarterback pressures? You know, we have arguably the defensive player of the year, and I think he lost that yesterday, 100%. You have TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Tuitt. You've got Vince Williams. You've got Mike Hilton, who's great off the edge, great secondary blitzer, right? You have a team and a defense that is so strong at making big plays. Man, they could not stop anything. They were manhandled last night, and against a team who was missing 2 offensive linemen. Baker Mayfield said he didn't meet one of his offensive linemen until that day. They got in the locker room. Hey, what's up, man? Oh, yeah, I'm going to be protecting you against the Steelers defense. We didn't get a single sack. We didn't pressure Baker Mayfield. We didn't do a damn thing. And I think that to me is the most shocking aspect of it, is that, yeah, we did turn the ball over 5 times, but our defense couldn't stop anything. Our defense couldn't stop anyone. They couldn't keep him to field goals. They couldn't keep him to anything. They couldn't make the big plays. They couldn't pressure Baker Mayfield. He was getting the ball out fast, give him that. But at the end of the day, there are some times where I'm just sitting there screaming, get his ass, and we could not touch him. The defense came up and they choked. And I think it's absolutely the most amazing thing is that, yeah, Ben Roethlisberger threw four interceptions, but he also threw for over 500 yards through the air. And what, 4 touchdowns? Our offense had more time of possession, more plays, more yards. But once again, turnovers will kill you. You take, like, all we had to do was not shit the bed half as bad as we did in the first quarter, and that's a different ball game. It's a different ball game. That's 14 points. All Marquise Pouncey has to do is not sail the ball, not snap it like a long snapper, way over the head of a 6'5" quarterback into the end zone. Listen, I was nervous about this game going in all day, all week. My heart was pounding. I was really nervous about this game because, listen, the Cleveland Browns aren't necessarily a joke. I think they're a good team. I think they're a decent squad. But what they did was they took everything that the Steelers gave them. And that's all they needed. The Steelers gave them everything. 28 points. 28 points in the first quarter. The defense wasn't awake. I mean, there was literally the defense couldn't do anything. They couldn't tackle. They couldn't make any plays. They couldn't get pressure on Baker. They couldn't stop the run. All year long, for the last couple of years, the defense is carried. The defense has been dominant. That defensive front, our linebackers, even with the injuries, we were still one of the best defenses in the league, and they couldn't stop anything. And I think that's where it comes down to. Is in the past, the defense has ultimately picked up the slack for a very lackluster offense that wasn't able to move the ball. The defense couldn't do anything yesterday. But offensively, like I said, Ben Roethlisberger threw for over 500 yards. And every single time, I think what really pissed us off the most was that every single time, we struggled for a lot of weeks of moving the ball downfield. But we were moving the ball downfield with relative ease. And then Ben Roethlisberger he's throwing up interceptions like it's candy, like a little piñata, just beating the piss out of us. Candy just drops. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, that you can't have 5 turnovers and win that game. That's why it hurts. For Steelers fans, it hurts because we started off 11-0. That 11th win against the Ravens was not pretty, and I think we got lucky that game for sure. But most of those wins this year, there were a lot of highlights. We made plays. I think what's so frustrating is that we started 11-0 and the team just collapsed. They just collapsed. And I don't know what else to say. You look at it, is it coaching? Were the players just, hey, we got this. We're just going to do what we want to do. I mean, I don't know what it was. Was it weird because they didn't have fans in the stands? I mean, I honestly feel like last night, if there were fans at Heinz Field last night, if you had a rocking house, 68,000 people at that stadium, I think it's a different game. I think the team feeds off that energy. I honestly do. I mean, like, listen, we Steelers made a lot of bad mistakes, but you could clearly tell the defense had no energy. The defense had no hunger. They didn't want to fight. They weren't there for a dog fight, no pun intended. The Browns were. And you know what? The Browns didn't even play that good. They just took what the Steelers gave them. They didn't have to play good. They just had to have a pulse and ride it out. I honestly feel like after 28-0 after the first quarter, all Baker Mayfield had to do was take a knee. That's it for the rest of the game. And the defense probably still wouldn't have been able to stop that. And that pains me to say that because our defense has been so dominant. What happened? They weren't there. They had no energy. They were lifeless. I mean, it was just a dud. So what needs to happen moving forward? Do we need to find a quarterback for Big Ben? Yeah. But I think Mason Rudolph proved that he can run the offense. So do we go for a quarterback? I know in one of my previous videos, I said we should go after Trevor Lawrence or go after a first-round quarterback this year. But I think Mason Rudolph kind of proved that he can make those deep ball passes. He can make those throws. He's got the measurables. He's got the arm. He's got the size. We have the pieces. What if we add a Najee Harris or a first-round running back? Because that's kind of what we were asking for last year. But, Chase Claypool definitely turned out to be a great offensive threat and a great offensive weapon. So what should we do? Clearly, we need to address the offensive line. It's been like a turnstile out there for the last 6 weeks. You start the year 11-0, you end it 1-5. 2 losses to the Cleveland Browns. It's pretty bad when we played better with a host of backups. We had 4 sacks with backups. Not a single one with TJ Watt or Cam Hayward in there. At the end of the day, moving forward, what needs to happen? I was watching a video, Colin Dunlap. He made a great point. Marines aren't just going to put him on, fire him blatantly. They're going to put him on notice. And I think, listen, after this happening, yes, Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. Yes, last year with a host of backups, Mike Tomlin was still able to even have a chance at the playoffs. When I saw a good statistic this morning about Mike Tomlin's playoffs, okay? So his playoff history, 2007, one and done. 2008, Tom Brady tore an ACL all year, beat the Chargers at home, beat rookie Joe Flacco at home, beat the 9-7 Cardinals with a 40-year-old Kurt Warner quarterback, including a blown 16-point fourth-quarter lead. True. 2009, no playoffs. 7 losses against sub-500 teams. 2010, beat Joe Flacco at home, including another blown fourth-quarter lead. Beat Mark Sanchez at home, which, Mark Sanchez. Lost to Aaron Rodgers and the 6-seed Packers. 2011, one and done against Tim Tebow's 8-8 Broncos. I remember watching that game. I was less embarrassed after watching that loss than I was last night. Because at the end of the day, the Steelers shot themselves in the foot repeatedly. They could not stop killing themselves. What did Tomlin say last year? He didn't kill us. Well, guess what? We literally killed ourselves and killed our season. It wasn't play calling. It wasn't, lack of creativity on the offense. It wasn't anything like that. At the end of the day, we just sucked. We gave them the ball. We turned the ball over 5 times. We gifted them 28 points in 1 quarter, less than a quarter. Our defense was nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. Mike Tomlin, 2013, 2012, no playoffs. 2013, no playoffs. 2014, one and done. 2015, beat backup A.J. McCarron. Lost to 39-year-old Peyton Manning. That one hurt a little bit, but not nearly as much as Tim Tebow, not nearly as much as last night. 2016, beat backup Matt Moore at home. kicked 6 field goals to beat Alex Smith, got the piss beat out of us by the Patriots in the AFC Championship. 2017, one and done, lost to Blake Bortles. That one wasn't as embarrassing as it was last night. 2018, missed the playoffs, lost 4 of the final 6. 2019, no playoffs, lost final 3. Only one of our 8 wins was against a team above 500. This year, one and done at home against Baker Mayfield, who didn't have a head coach, who didn't practice all week, who was missing, 6 key pieces of their offense and defense, couldn't do a damn thing. And we lost the last 5 of our final 6 games of this year. So what needs to be done? And I think Tomlin is a great coach. I think there's no arguments there. Tomlin is a great coach. However, I'm a Michigan fan. I went to Michigan, so there's always the talks about like Jim Harbaugh. And I'll tell you this. The first 2-3 years with Jim Harbaugh, you watch Jim Harbaugh, man, he's got that fire. He's yelling, he's screaming, he's getting the recruits, he's getting the fans fired up. Yeah, he couldn't beat Ohio State. Yeah, he had some bad losses, but he was fired up, man. And I love that shit. You saw the fire. Last 2 years, Jim Harbaugh hasn't had that fire. Mike Tomlin, does he have that fire still? Does he have that fire to really bring up, get your team pumped, get your team ready? Because the last 2 times we came out in the playoffs, last 3 times we came out in the playoffs, that team did not look prepared. And the reason why so many people this year thought it was going to be different than the 2017, or I should say the 2018 game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Listen, I thought that team had some serious holes, especially in the secondary. On defense, that team had a lot of holes that could be exploited. And they did. The Jaguars did. But this team didn't have those holes. Yeah, we had injuries on defense. Yeah, Bud Dupree and Devin Bush are out. But Robert Spillane came in and was lights out. Alex Highsmith came in, was great. Cam Sutton was in. Mike Hill was great. Minka Fitzpatrick. Terrell Edmonds was even having a decent year. They didn't have the holes in this defense as they have in years past. But now we look at that game last night and you think, what just happened? So does Mike Tomlin get put on the hot seat? Yes. Who would replace him? I don't know. I honestly have no idea. We haven't had to have that conversation for a long time. But at what point do we look at this and say, listen, regular season wins don't mean shit. Yeah, you've never had a losing season, but you've only had 3 playoff wins. You're 3-6 in the last 9 playoff games. We got embarrassed by Cleveland. We got embarrassed by Jacksonville. We got embarrassed by the New England Patriots. At what point are people going to start prioritizing playoff victories? This is the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's only 2 franchises in the history of the NFL who have 6 Super Bowls. The Pats and the Steelers. And we were 3-6 in the last 9 playoff games. How does that happen? In games we are heavily favored in. In games we're playing at home. Granted, this year's different. Tom Wolfe, Jagoff, he didn't allow any fans there, so it's a little bit different. So home field advantage wasn't really anything for us this year. We just didn't have to travel. But then again, it's Cleveland. It's 2 hours away. So what difference does it even make at that point? At what point? Cool, we started 11-0. Cool, we finished 12-4, AFC North champs. Cool. We played good with backups against a Cleveland Browns team on the Week 17 finale. Still lost by 2 points, but we still played really well. At what point do we start looking at this and say, you know what? Cool. AFC North champs don't matter. One and done in the playoffs. That one not done t-shirt, burn that shit. Burn that shit. At what point do we sit here and say, listen, shit needs to change? Mike Tomlin's a great coach. He's in the hot seat right now. he is on the hot seat. You cannot be 3-6 in your last 9 playoff games, the majority of which you were heavily favored in. You cannot go out last night and get embarrassed like you did. The Cleveland Browns didn't even have to play well. All they had to do was show up and take everything that the Steelers gave them, and that's what they did. They didn't try to do too much. They didn't try to go overboard. They didn't try to get cute. Steelers handed them the ball, and they kept it simple. It's all they had to do. It's embarrassing, man. There's no other way you can put it. That is the most embarrassing output I've ever seen from a Pittsburgh Steelers team in a long time. Tomlin needs to be on the hot seat. Tomlin needs to understand that here in the Steel City, yeah, I understand Bill Cowher had a pretty big leash. I understand there were a lot of down years with Bill Cowher. I get that. It took him a long time to get that Super Bowl. I totally understand it. But I'll tell you one thing that Bill Cowher never lost. Maybe it was last year after we won the Super Bowl. Bill Cowher always had fire. Bill Cowher always had that swag. You understood when that chin came out and that spit started flowing, you know Bill Cowher's in that game. Didn't matter if we were 12-4 or 4-12. It did not matter. Bill Cowher came ready. Our team was not ready. Our defense got smacked in the mouth. Our offense gave the ball away too damn much. At what point do we look at this and say, this isn't working? Congratulations, you went 12-4. You won the AFC North, but you were one and done. At what point do we realize you have such a talented team on both offense and defense? There are places that you need to improve, especially when it comes to the offensive line and the running back situation. But you went 12-4 in the regular season, and you lose in an embarrassing fashion in the first round of the playoffs. Obviously, Randy Fichtner needs to go. We definitely need to address the offensive line. I think the Steelers need to move forward and look at getting a good running back. I think, if we can find a good second round running back, I think that's the move. Maybe Najee Harris is a good move. I know a lot of people are saying that's a good landing spot for him, and that Pittsburgh should end up taking him. But we also got to have that conversation of, should we ultimately trade up in the draft to go forward and get a first round quarterback? At this point, I don't know. I have no idea what to say. I'm so flabbergasted and dumbfounded for that piss poor performance last night that I literally have nothing to say about it. Well, I guess I do have a lot to say about it. I've been on this for about, 24 minutes? How do you come out? How does a team go 12-4, start 11-0, lose 5 of its last 6 in horrible fashion? That's got to be the worst collapse I've ever seen of any team, especially the Pittsburgh Steelers. Moving forward, I think Mike Tomlin is on the hot seat. I think next year is going to be a big test. I think first round draft picks, you're going to have to look at trading up to get a quarterback. You need the replacement. I think Mason Rudolph is a capable quarterback. I think he can definitely be successful. Again, he's got the measurables. He's got the size. He's got the arm. I think what he did against Cleveland proved that he can throw the ball pretty well. But I think, man, I don't know. It's just a dumpster fire of a day. I can't believe what happened last night. I'm dumbfounded. It's embarrassing. Even one of my best friends, who is a de facto, he moved to Cleveland for work, and he became a bandwagon Browns fan. All he did was run his mouth and talk shit all year. about the Browns. Whenever the Steelers were losing and not playing well, he talked shit about the Steelers, and it kind of pissed me off. But even last night, he knew. He knew. He's like, man, that's not even. My buddy even knew who talked shit about us. Who was a Browns fan. He's a bandwagon Browns fan. He knew not to say anything last night. That's how bad it was. That's how bad it was. When my best friend who talks shit to me nonstop, and I talk shit to him too, that's just kind of how it is with guys. When he knows I ain't going to do it, I ain't going to be a dead horse while he's down. That's how you know how bad it was. I think first round, and I'm probably going to change my mind on this a million times, and I think a lot of people are. I think first round, you go running back. Get an elite running back. Get somebody who can really run the ball. Beef up your offensive line in the later rounds. The pieces are there. You have the wide receivers. You need an offensive line, and you need an elite running back. And I think if we go into the draft and we get an elite running back, that'll help fix the running game. That'll help with the play action. We get rid of Randy Fichtner. We get a better offensive coordinator who knows how to call a better game, who knows how to scheme our offense a lot better, because I think throughout the year our scheme has been trash. Sometimes for some reason it worked. Clearly in the last, 5 out of the last 6 games, it didn't. Does Ben retire? I don't know. I think Mason Rudolph moving forward could be a good running back. I think he needs a good quarterback rather. I think he needs a good offense around him. He needs a better line. We need a better running game. We need to make sure he's not throwing the ball 60 sometimes like Ben did last night. But I think it's time for Mason to have that shot. I think it's time for Mason for us to see what he can do. I think he proved against the Browns that he can be a good quarterback, that he can be decent and win some ball games. So I think in the draft, what we need to do in the first round is go get Najee Harris, go get a stud running back, because that's everything, man. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, stud, man, absolute stud. J.K. Dobbins, solid running back. Jonathan Taylor, man, what a beast. Go out. I say get a running back. Let's give Mason another year. Let's see what he can do. Let's get a better offensive coordinator in there. Let's get a better scheme. And let's put Tomlin on the hot seat. I think if next year, if we don't make the playoffs, or if we do and we're one and done again, I think Tomlin's out. Kick him to the curb. It's over. Find somebody else. Who that person is, I have no idea. But let's try to move forward here, people. Steelers Nation. I literally decorated this whole damn man cave for Steelers football, and we just got the breaks. I wouldn't even say we necessarily got the breaks beat off of us. I think we beat the breaks off of ourselves. We just kept shooting ourselves in the foot. I've said it before. I'll say it again. At the end of the day, the Browns didn't even have to play that well. They clearly didn't have to play well. All they had to do was show up and take what we gave them. That's all they did. All they needed to do was take what we gave them, because we gave them everything. It's Christmas friggin' morning for them. Okay? They got their Red Ryder BB gun, and they didn't even have to shoot. They didn't even shoot their eye out. Here's your Red Ryder BB gun, Baker and the Browns. And they didn't even shoot their eye out. We gave them the game. Gave it to them. Literally. That's why it sucks. A team that was so dominant, a defense that was so dominant for so long, all season, last year, just completely and utterly chokes. Figure it out. Got a lot of big signings coming up. A lot of big signings going to have to come up. I don't know if we're going to be able to retain Bud Dupree, which is going to hurt. Alex Highsmith was a good replacement. We're going to get Devin Bush back. That will definitely help. But I honestly think moving forward, the move next year is beef up your offensive line and get a solid stud of a running back. Get a better offensive coordinator. Randy Fichtner, your time is up. Get the hell out of town. It's over. And at the end of the day, It was an embarrassing showing. It really was. I was honestly looking at Super Bowl tickets. We were doing so well, looking at Super Bowl tickets. And now I think it hurts the most because we, as Steelers fans, we were all the way up here. We were riding high. We were riding pretty. And then it just crashed. And I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. That's why it hurts. You start off the year so strong. You start off the year so well. And then from the Ravens game to the Browns game, the second Ravens game, I should say, it was an absolute choke show. And again, I think the biggest surprise is how bad our defense was last night. Credit to the Browns. They didn't try to get cute. They didn't try to get pretty. They came in with a simple game plan. In fact, I don't even know if they had to execute their damn game plan. They didn't have to. I mean, like literally, in their game plan, there's no way that said, "Hey, we're going to get 5 turnovers." There's no way. Their game plan was more than likely, we're going to try to run the ball. We're going to take what they give us. The defense isn't going to give us much, but we're going to take what they can give them. We need to capitalize on turnovers. But guess what? Defense gave them everything. Defense didn't give them hell. Offense, yeah, we put up 500 yards to the air. I don't know the final stat line, but it's got to be somewhere close to 600 total yards in the game. We hung 38 points on them, 37 points. There's no reason you have 500 passing yards through the air, almost 600 yards of offense, 37 points on the board, and you lose by 2 scores. That's insanity. That's utter insanity. This hurts more than it did last year. I mean, at least last year there was necessarily no expectations. I remember watching the final game against the Ravens. I remember I knew we were losing, and when we were losing, I wasn't even stressed out. Man, this one just hits differently. Such a talented team and such a waste. Such a waste of talent, man. Oh, I'm going to try not to think about football until after tonight. I'm going to pack everything away. Moving to Pittsburgh soon. Hopefully next year we'll have a better showing. Let's draft a stud running back. I think it's Mason season now. Ben, we love you, man. You did a lot of great things for the organization. Obviously, I don't think that first one was your fault, but the last 4 were definitely tough. But we appreciate the 2 Super Bowls, all the winning, the great times. Hey, man. Tough day. Really tough day. We'll see what happens. Looking forward to the draft. All right, everybody.